Infinity is somewhere presents. Heavy is the bag. Daren's boots crunched on the bone-dried ground, each step a metronome marking the rhythm of his simmering rage. The wind, a biting whisper, a burning brush, tugged at the edges of his worn cloak, a cloak the color of grave soil. Stained through and through, drenched in the remains of his loved ones. Slung across his back was a simple burlap sack, heavier than its unassuming appearance suggested. Inside nestled amongst dried herbs and grave dust. Huddled together were the skeletal remains of his parents. They had been good people, healers in their small, isolated county. Their crime, refusing to hoard their remedies when the Queen Mother's pestilence swept through. They shared what they had, they shared what they knew, they had cared, and for that, the guards of the Queen Mother came storming through their small county and right into their homes, bursting open their front door as the rain fell louder than usual and the lightning lit up the night sky. The guards proceeded to shout demands while tearing up the home. After the home was ransacked, the guards beat his parents, then tied them to a wooden pole before setting it ablaze. All while holding Daren, beaten, barely conscious, but aware enough to hear his parents' pleas to spare him. Maybe their pleas worked, or maybe they just wanted to send a message. The guards left Daren alive, badly beaten, but alive. Sometime after the following morning, Daren gathered his strength and walked over to where his parents were laying on a pile of ash. The heat was so intense it burned right through the restraints. The Queen's executioner mage used a powerful fire spell called the Flames of Asmodeus. It was overkill. It was for show, and nothing more. Kneeling down, Daren stared teary-eyed at the parents' remains, cursing the Queen, cursing the society that would allow it to happen to these good people. His parents did work in spellcrafting. They dabbled in necromancy, which was very taboo and heavily frowned upon. They taught Daren what they knew, and for years he would practice on dead animals when no one was looking to hone his craft. It was at this moment he knew what he must do. He carefully cleaned off his parents' remains, then carefully placed them in the burlap sack. He then proceeded to soak the cloak his mother had made him for his 23rd birthday in the ash and remains from the fire in order to have a stronger connection for the summoning. Daren, thinking back to that fateful day his whole life changed, he hears the echoes of his parents pleading for his safety. The images from that night often keep him up. Now, years later, Daren stood on the precipice of the Queen Mother's opulent estate, an ode to overindulgence, while so many go without and live in fear. There she lives, having never known scarcity, having never known the effects of her cruelty she imposes on us. So complacent, so unaware that she will not feel the warmth of the sun again, Daren thinks to himself. She believed outlawing magic would keep her reign supreme, and for decades it had, but in those decades she had let her guard down. The patrols are not as often, the guards not as vigilant. There hasn't been a threat posed against her reign in so long. But tonight, it all ends. Tonight, my journey ends. Tonight, they can rest. Torches flickered along the high walls, casting dancing shadows that seemed to mock Daren's grief. He tightened his grip on the sack. He whispered a prayer his mother often said to him at night for familiar comfort. Or maybe he was saying it to her. He knows neither of his parents would approve of his obsession with revenge. They would not hate him for it, because they love him, but the disappointment would be palpable. Daren says this isn't just for him, but for everyone. He is just the one to lead the charge. Tonight, the Queen Mother will pay. He found a shadowed alcove near the stables, the stench of horse and hay a welcome cover for the more earthy aroma that clung to him. With a low, guttural chant that seemed to claw its way from the very soul he has, Daren untied the sack. He carefully laid out the femurs, the tibias, the delicate small bones of his mother's hand, the sturdy skull of his father. After he arranges them, he stares at them for a brief moment, reflecting on how they were when they were alive, the smell of his mother's cooking, her loving touch, the sometimes harsh ways of his father, who was also fair and had a softer side shine through from time to time. How he misses them. He will avenge them. The air around him grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. Shadows deepened, swirling like ink in the water. Daren closed his eyes, picturing his parents' faces, their gentle smiles, the warmth of their embrace. He poured his grief, his fury, his desperate longing into the silent bones. "Rise," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion, "and grant me my vengeance." A faint rattling began, almost imperceptible at first. Then, with jerky, unnatural movements, the bones began to knit themselves together, held by sinews of shadow and wisps of grave, cold energy. Two figures began to come together in the darkness, gaunt and skeletal, but undeniably his mother and father. Their empty eye sockets seemed to fixate on him, a silent understanding passing between them. His mother's bony hand, still bearing the faint trace of a healed fracture from her youth, reached out and touched his cheek, the touch sending a shiver down his spine. His father's skull tilted in a gesture of grim determination. Daren nodded, his heart a cold knot in his chest. "The Queen Mother," he rasped, pointing towards the brightly lit manor. "Make her suffer as we have suffered." With a silent, spectral glide, his parents moved towards the estate walls. Daren followed, the burlap sack in hand, hungry for another body to house, and he knows just the one. He was closing in on the end of his quest for revenge, reunited with his parents in the only way he knew how, and tonight, justice will be served.